Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is now 6 o'clock, and I will call this regular meeting of the Burnsville City Council to order. It is our tradition to stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and we invite you to join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight's meeting is both in person and online, and members of the public are welcome to join us online. They can view us on burnsvillemn.gov/meetings or channel 16 or 859. The public can also participate in the meeting through Zoom by joining us at zoom.us/join. More information about the availability of the meeting background is on our webpage and in a council packet. The first item on the agenda is announcements, and then we also have one presentation to do. Announcements have to do with all of our upcoming meetings. Council meetings are scheduled for Tuesday, December 20th at 5:30 p.m. and Tuesday, January 3rd at 5:30 p.m. Work sessions are scheduled for Tuesday, December 13th at 5:30 p.m. All meetings of the City Council are held here in the council chambers unless we tell you that a meeting is going to take place somewhere else. And tonight we have one recognition, and I'm going to do it from that side. City Council and members of the community of Burnsville, we have one recognition of appreciation, and this is for Mike O'Brien. Mike, if you come up, please. He has served our community in the Code Review Task Force, and we're very, very appreciative of the work that he's done. Now, Mike is a very special person. Mike was born with half a heart, and he also has had many medical challenges, but he gave to Burnsville. And no matter what, he was always there, and we're always appreciative of your service, Mike, and so we're going to miss you. Mike is leaving us because he is going to Nashville to get a heart transplant and a liver transplant. And so our prayers go with Mike as he undergoes this journey, and we pray for the success. And you're going to have to let your mother keep us informed and updated, Mike. So with that, thank you for your service to the community of Burnsville.
Thank you.
You have been wonderful, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
I think she's...
Appreciate this so much.
We appreciate you very much.
I'm gonna miss everyone.
Yeah, and we pray for a successful surgery and transplant. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor, I'd like to say something, if I could.
Yes, please.
As liaison to the Citizens Code Review, it has been just a pleasure working with you. And we've done more than that. We've talked about mobility for people with challenges and how do you get around, and we've had lots of different discussions, and you have stood up for people all the time, as our mayor has said. And the one thing that always impressed me is no matter how you were feeling, you made it to the meetings. Yeah. You always showed up to the meetings. And most of you probably don't know this, but he Ubered to the meetings to get here. That's how he got here for these things. And so your and I've watched you over the years fight hard for your health, fight hard to get this transplant. And I'm just so impressed with what you've done. Burnsville is we're gonna lose a citizen that I'd like to keep, but more importantly, I think we're gonna lose a voice that a lot of people respect. So thank you for what you
Yeah,
did.
and the other thing is that, Mike, you have a Facebook page where you need donations to help cover your medical expenses. So, and they can go to Facebook, and it's Mike O'Brien.
Yeah, I also have is it okay if
Sure.
I also have a website, transplant4mike.com, and it's through the National Foundation for Transplants, and that's how I'm raising money to be able to pay for this, because it's gonna cost about like $2 million, so,
Yeah.
but
Well,
insurance should cover
we'll continue to
most
pray,
of it.
and that
Yes.
hopefully everything goes well, so.
Thank
But
you.
thank you so much, Mike, we're gonna miss you.
I'm gonna miss
Because
this.
the other thing is that during the pandemic, when we had meetings, and Mike was not feeling good, he would Zoom in, and we could see that he had to be laying in bed, but attended the meetings, because his mind continued to function, but his body was weak. So, thank you, Mike,
Thank you.
thank you.
I appreciate this.
Yeah.
It all means so much to me.
The next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. This is the opportunity for anyone in the audience or on Zoom to address the council on an item that is not on a printed agenda and not an application form that will be coming before us at a future date. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda and not an application form? Ms. Collins, is there anyone on Zoom?
None, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We will move on. The next item on the agenda is for emergency item zoning, and this is additions to the final agenda. City Manager Lindberg, are there any emergency items to come before the body?
Nothing from staff, Mayor.
Members of the council? Okay, thank you. We then will move on. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. This is a group of items that's considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. However, an item on a consent agenda can be removed for a separate discussion and vote. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes an item on the consent agenda to be removed for a separate discussion and vote? Ms. Collins, anyone on Zoom that wants an item removed?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, members of the council. City Manager Lindberg.
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, we now move on to the regular, I will now ask for a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. Thank you. We now move on to the regular agenda. And the first item on the regular agenda is establishing the 2023 property tax levy, adopting the 2023 budget, and adopting the 2023-2027 capital improvement program. Presenting this evening is our Chief Financial Officer, Jenny Rhodey. Mrs. Rhodey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. It's great to be here tonight. So tonight we'll be doing our final presentation of the 2023 proposed budget. Briefly, we'll start out with the budget calendar. I'll just briefly touch on the budget calendar, and we will look at the 2023 proposed budget in summary, as well as the 2023 proposed tax levy. And finally, we'll wrap up with staff recommendations and formal actions to be taken before the property tax levy and budget is certified. Oh, I'm sorry. Here, I'll try to get closer for you.
Okay. Can somebody check with control room, please?
Can you hear me now? No. Nope? Okay.
Okay, we can hear you, but we'll make sure that everybody gets to hear everything. And then we'll also make sure that it's also being heard with those folks who are listening to us on television or online.
Oh, keep talking, I think it was starting to come up.
Pardon me?
Keep talking, it sounds like the sound is coming up.
Okay, they're working on it right now.
No?
No?
It worked once when you were over here, it came through the sound system, but we haven't gotten anything from anybody sitting up here since.
Okay, can you hear her?
Just naturally, not through the sound system.
Okay,
Okay.
try again, Mrs. Rhodey.
Okay, I'll try again. Oh, how's that? There we go.
There, can you hear us now? Can you hear her?
Yes.
That's important.
Yep.
Okay, and then, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
It's better.
Okay, so they'll continue to work on the sound system. Most importantly is that you need to hear Mrs. Rhodey. She's our Chief Financial Officer. Okay, very good. Thank you for letting us know. Okay.
All right, thanks. So tonight is actually our 8th meeting that we've had to discuss the budget with council. We started almost a year ago, back in January at the all-day work session, where council offered some thoughts and feedback for the proposed, or the 2023 budget to come. As we move into the budget information, just a reminder, there's a few pending items and studies that are outstanding that are not included in the 2023 budget. One of those are the municipal facilities projects. The pre-design work for those are ongoing, and those will come back to council at a later date. Additionally, compensation plan market assessments. In the 2023 budget, we do have a compensation plan update scheduled, and the outcome of that pending study, any additional market assessments as a result of that will need to be worked into or integrated into future years' budgets. Additionally, we do have 5 labor agreements that are expiring at the end of 2022 as well. Total expenditures and uses for 2023 are proposed at a little over $121,600,000. That is across all funds, including capital funds. 39% of expenditures are accounted for through employee services, followed by 24% are budgeted for current expenditures, and 22% for capital improvements. Overall, that's about an $8.2 million increase over 2022, or about a 7.2% increase. The use of fund balance across all funds is planned for about $408,000 for 2023, with the biggest single use being American Rescue Plan Act funds out of the grant fund of $3 million. And those are going to fund public safety expenditures and reduce the impact on the property tax levy for 2023. One other item, we completed an organizational analysis in 2023 that resulted in 19 FTEs being proposed across multiple departments, and you can see those listed here in the proposed column. The total cost in the 2023 budget is approximately $2.6 million, which is largely included in the general fund budget. Many of the FTEs, though, are also supported by enterprise funds, either through direct FTEs in the Public Works Department or allocations from the general fund to those utility funds. Total revenues and funding sources budgeted for 2023 are just a little under $121 million to, or $121,200,000. 39% of the revenues are derived from property taxes, with 29% being charges for services. A majority of those charges for services are in the utility funds through utility charges. The detail of the property tax levy proposed for 2023 is shown on this slide. It is a 14.5% increase with a majority assigned to the general fund, and a majority of that cost in there, or a lot of that cost, going to organizational analysis implementation. Notable as well, the EDA fund, the proposed levy for the EDA fund is $1 million. That is an increase of $702,000 over last year's, over the 2022 levy. This slide shows the impact of the current year's levy on a median value home. One thing to note, the market value of a median value home did change by $48,000 in 2023. It increased about 16.6%. And that change, along with the property tax levy change, resulted for a median value property owner about a $229 annual increase, or a monthly increase of about just over $19. Finally, this is, there's a few formal steps that the council needs to take this evening in order to certify the property tax levy and budget for 2023. First, the council will be presented with 2 resolutions for the 2023 property tax levy certification and budget. After that action, the council meeting will be briefly recessed, and the an EDA meeting will be convened. There they will be asked to act on a resolution for the proposed 2023 property tax certification for the EDA. Once that action is taken, the EDA meeting will be recessed and the city council meeting will be reconvened, and they will be presented with a motion to consent to the property tax levy for the EDA. At this time, staff recommends the city council and EDA board adopt the resolutions as presented. And I am available for any questions.
Thank you, Mrs. Rhodey. As you have outlined in the schedule of events, we started this back in January and have been working on the budget diligently throughout all of those months. And this is where we find ourselves at. And so, does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Rhodey at this time? None? We do have some folks who would like to speak on the budget, so I'm going to call them up, and you can come up to this podium right here and speak. The first one who signed up is Mr. Ward. Mr. Ward is at 27. Just give us your name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name is Bob Ward, address 2702 Woods Trail North in Burnsville. We've been residents here in Burnsville for about 30 years. We moved into the city because the city was a top-notch city and the school was a top-notch school district. That the city has stayed there. I'm very pleased with a lot of the things the city has done. There's a few things that I question why they did them, but the school district is really failing, and that's not a reflection on you guys, but it's a reflection on the school district, and it's unfortunate. But also, you know, it's a bad time to be raising taxes. Everybody's just recovering from this pandemic. A lot of our people, a lot of our investments have gone 20 to 40% down. Some of us are on a fixed income, and it's a very poor time to be raising taxes along with the rest of the things that are going on in the economy. You know, I read the articles and tried to follow everything as the council went through this whole reassessment of the next 5 years, and the company you hired recommended 50% increase in property taxes over the next 5 years. I believe that's what they recommended. And I think that's a little high. Maybe we should get a company in here to analyze how we can be more efficient in the city. There's a lot of things that, you know, being a businessman in the city, there's a lot of things that we had to do to adjust to the economy, to everything else. And it'd be nice to see the city do that instead of bringing a company in to say, let's spend more money and do different things like that. So I think this is a very poor time to be adding to the taxes, putting a bigger burden on the people of Burnsville. All right?
Thank you, Mr. Ward. The next person is Mrs. Judy Leonard.
My husband and I live at 15287 Stonewood Court in Burnsville. We've been residents of Burnsville now for 46 years. We love it here. And we just moved a year ago, though, and it's a townhouse, so that we do most of our living on one floor. Anyway, this says our property taxes are going up, and we would say we would never get any money the way we paid for money to get into this house. We will not get that, because we will tell people that the Buck Hill snow machines run day and night, 10 days at a time. I've called code enforcement now 3 times. I did get one return voicemail that said they've had approval for this for years, back in the 80s, and I'm thinking, well, there are a lot of new houses and a lot of new kids living around here. You can't sleep. You have a headache all the time. Anyway, that's one thing I wanted to bring up. Like, I don't know why we're going to be paying more and we're getting less. And the other thing is, my husband would like to know if there's a senior freeze for seniors, and also, why are we paying double taxes for less space? Those are questions we have. I don't know if you get them answered here, or.
Mrs. Rhodey, I think you're talking about the value of your home, correct?
And the taxes
Yeah.
that were increased for.
Yeah. So
And yet we
the-
have these complaints that aren't being even answered.
Yeah.
3 phone calls, and I only got one answer, and that was it.
Yeah, we need to do a better job of that. What I can say is that you can talk with Mrs. Rhodey afterwards, and she can answer some of those questions. Some of the things that you can also do with regard to senior deferment, I think the county can do some of that. But again, there are some things that need to be looked at, and she will be happy to work with you on that.
All
Mrs.
right,
Leonard.
thank you.
Thank you. The next is Mr. Chris John.
Madam Mayor, City Council members, Chris John, 12915 18th Avenue South in Burnsville. And I just came probably the opposite of everybody else here. I am advocating for the increase in taxes only because I know where our city is as far as staffing is concerned. I've spoke with many people in the staff, and they tell me how stressed out they are because they don't have enough people available to help them out. It would be great if we could be more efficient, but there comes a point where you can't go any lower. You can't get any less without losing services or losing pieces of the puzzle. There's things to be said about not only paying taxes, but what's the benefit that you're getting from those taxes, and what services can be provided by the city of Burnsville because you're paying these taxes. And if you look at the areas around us, whether that be Lakeville, Apple Valley, they're all going double digit on increases taxes this year. It's a thing. It has a lot to do with inflation. But for Burnsville, it's mainly staffing. It's a lot of people. They showed the slide earlier of all the people that we needed to be included into the staffing, not only for our police and fire, which is a huge portion of this. They're half of the staffing that we need, and we haven't increased staffing in those departments in the last 20 years, yet our population grew 4,000 people. And so if people are wondering why crime is going up or why, the fire department may not be able to put out a big fire without help from other services, this is why. It's because we don't have enough funding there to take care of those things. So I really believe that this is the route to go. I think that we needed the 14 first. Otherwise, we're going to be paying double digits down the road for the next 2 years. Let's get it over with one time, get it over with, and move forward and be able to fund the city the way we should be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. John. The next person is Mr. Roman Cobes.
Roman Caves,
Okay, so I'm sorry.
3104 Glenview Drive. Hi, Elizabeth. been a while since I've seen you.
I
I'm again here for 14% seems awfully high for one thing. My mother's 96 years old, and if she's gonna be hit with a tax increase of 14% added on to the income that she has, Social Security is not coming up, that the numbers aren't gonna be there for her. And I think you're gonna put a lot of people in the city of Burnsville with that kind of decision. The second thing is wanted to bring out to attention is the homes. We have split entry homes all around in Burnsville, and to better make the home more value and more appealing to the younger people, split entries are not favorable. Rambler is, two-story is, but we have all these split entries there, and to upgrade the split entry, it's gonna be around $100,000 to change it over. So I think that the city council should take another look at their increases and try to come with a resolution that would be more appealing to people that are in the elderly market. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chris Meeks?
Madam Mayor, council members. I'm actually a resident 4 years in Burnsville here at 3104 Glenview Drive. I would simply say, and unlike others that may be speaking here, I don't know how you want to put it, a dual citizen. I'm also a homeowner in Indiana, so here and there. Actually, I lease from Mr. Cabes. I would simply say when I look at what's happening here, I mean, increases happen all the time. But I think when we're looking at those increases, especially it was a point made earlier, coming off of pandemic, coming off of reduced, investments that are happening to everyone, especially your seniors that are in the community and others. Seems that this might be not necessarily the appropriate time to add additional personnel to administration of the city. You take a look at some of these homes in the area. Many of them are, there's not new developments going on here. These are older homes from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, primarily. The assessments that are being placed upon them, I think, is really putting a burden, or will put a burden, on your community. So basically is all I had to say, but other than that, I love Burnsville. It's a great town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Renee Williams?
I'm Renee Williams. I live at 1525 Rio Loma Lane. My family moved to Burnsville in 1968. Yes, I was just a mere child. I'm now retired and have lived in Burnsville all these years, and I'm really concerned also about this tax increase. I did some research and went to the Dakota County website and also to another website that's called World Population Review. And I would like to point out that these websites said the growth of Burnsville has been 0.6%, less than 1% growth from year to year, and yet you're asking for a 14% increase in taxes. With such small growth, you're asking for 8 more police officers, according to the statistics you gave, 3 more firemen, 2 more city staff people. I don't think our population has supported that kind of growth in what you're asking for in the staff. Other people have pointed out the home values have gone up, which is not your responsibility. The county is responsible for that. Mine, I'm in a very modest home here at Burnsville, increased over $50,000. Not only did that happen, but they lowered the homestead tax credit. So on the bottom of my tax statement, I have a 21% increase in my taxes for this next year. It's close to $600 more. And you are the heaviest part of that, with your 14% increase coming in on that. I can't go to my retirement fund as a retired teacher and ask for more income. I'm sliding backwards, as many people are in this economy. The Dakota County website said in Burnsville, there's 47,212 adults. Out of that, 10,026 of them are seniors. So almost 25% of the population have entered senior citizenship. Those are fixed income people. And again, people have said their investments have shrunk with the poor economy. I think all of you are very aware of what's happened at the grocery store. When last year we could get eggs for 99 cents a dozen, and last week they were at Cub for $4.49 a dozen. Butter we could get last year for holiday baking at $1.39 a pound. It's $3 or more a pound, and that's when it's on sale. Prices are up everywhere. I just don't understand how you can, in good conscience, squeeze more out of your residents, your citizens here that look to you to help guide us. Yes, we have a beautiful community. Yes, it needs to be maintained. But now I don't think is the right time for such a steep increase, because you can only squeeze your people so far before they break. There is nowhere. We're sliding backwards instead of going forward. So I ask you as council members, there was another proposal at 8% rather than the 14%. I'm just using the round numbers right now, that you would have compassion in your hearts and move back to that percentage and offer a little relief to your people that support you here in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The next is Bruce Haberly.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Bruce Haverly, 331 Maple Island Road. And looking at the Dakota County, or the levy is at 12.9%. And according to Dakota County, that is the highest of Dakota County for municipalities. So I'm not sure what's driving all those. I haven't seen some of the budget information beforehand, but in addition to that, if the increase is 12.9%, a lot of us, all of our neighbors are in excess of 25 to 30% increase in our taxes for the Burnsville component. So I'm not understanding why we're not seeing the 14.9% versus 25 to 30%, which, you know, we're not talking hundreds of dollars, we're talking thousands of dollars now at this point. It seems like it's a windfall to the city. So there are some solutions possibly to reduce the levy, reduce the mill rate, put a cap on the increase, and for seniors like myself that are retired, if there's a cap or a credit for tax increases. So that's my thought. Again, as Renee said, I would ask the council to consider a lower levy increase. It's just it's punishing the long-term residents for values that have gone up. Nothing that we can control. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's see, that's all I have of people who want it. Yes, please, come forward. Name and address for the record.
You look like a stranger, though. I don't know if we should let you in. I said you looks like a stranger approaching. I don't know that we should let you in.
Well, the reason they're teasing me, for those who don't know me, my name's Dan McElroy. My wife and I live at 12805 Welcome Lane and have for 45 years as of last week. And I served on this body a very, very long time ago in the last century. I have kept track of our property taxes for the last 45 years. My nickname when I served in government was Numbers. And so, of course, I have an Excel spreadsheet about yay long. And I use the Citizens League approach. The Citizens League of the Twin Cities has a website you might find interesting that tracks net taxes after all credits as a percentage of market value. And over those 45 years, our net taxes as a percentage of market value have actually gone down. Now, you can't write a check for a percentage of market value. You write a check for dollars, and the dollars have gone up. But this year, for our home, our tax about 1.05% of market value. It peaked at about 2.4% of market value in the 80s. It has been coming down since then. The interesting thing is to look at how it compares to surrounding communities. Not so much in Dakota County. Dakota County communities in general are frugal, but take a look at a home of comparable value in Prior Lake or Bloomington or Eden Prairie, or if you really want to scare yourself, places like Sunfish Lake or North Oaks. where the taxes on a comparable home are 2 or 3 times as much. It doesn't pay the taxes, and I to some extent blame the effort to get back to a AAA bond rating and frugality with not having increased spending more slowly over time or when I was involved. And I know our population hasn't increased, but the population, the calls for service have increased. Buildings are older, and if they do catch fire, they're more complicated to put out. Older citizens need to have more calls for emergency services, particularly ambulance, but also rescue and extraction. Businesses that have grown in the community demand's not the right word, but call for more services. So I'm concerned about the increase. I know from experience that what we received in the notice was the maximum allowable increase, so the so-called max tax, and that we'll have further discussions about that. But I asked my neighbors, and they're concerned. We're not getting any younger, and it is more likely that people my age and older will call 911 and want an ambulance. It takes more people to do that than it did when we were younger. Our streets are, like our bodies, are getting older. A variety of things constitute a need for spending. So spend as little as is smart. And if you spend too little, it's not smart. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. McElroy, is there anyone else? Yes, please come forward. Give us your name and address for the record, because I have a list of people who signed in and.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My name is Doug Munson. I live at 13012 High Point Curve in Burnsville. Yeah, I've been listening to everybody here and pretty much in agreement. I'm looking at my share of the Burnsville increase, and it's 20.7%. And on my bottom line, my overall taxes are going up 21.5%. I get that prices go up. I get that. You know, there's needs. I expect an increase, but 21.5% or 20.7% citywide, I mean, I just can't get behind that. You know, I got to give you all credit. I have my last 3 years tax statements here, and the increases were marginal. And of course, I appreciate that. And like I said, I understand the need to raise taxes. I mean, things cost more, but I would just ask that you reconsider a little bit, because 20.7% is just a huge hit. And as a lot of folks have indicated, I'm not fixed income, if you will. I'm still working, but I mean, I can feel the pain of those folks as well. So would appreciate any consideration we can get to get some of these numbers down a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, yes, please. Name and address for the record.
Karen Mack, 14126 Park Avenue. And I spoke with the county today about the taxes, and my portion of the taxes from Burnsville is going up 25%. And my husband is on Social Security disability. Resides in the Veterans Home. So I am trying to make do with just my income on this home. My overall taxes are going up 18.5%. According to the county, because of the increase in Burnsville is from the loss of revenue from the Burnsville Center. And you're passing it on to the homeowners. And as other people have said here, you know, we're just coming out of the pandemic. My retirement funds have gone down at least 25%, some 30%. And, you know, I'm only a few years away from retiring myself. I don't know where this money is going to come from, and really can't afford this kind of an increase at this time, not when, you know, inflation is already 8%, and you're asking for 3 times that from my property taxes here in Burnsville. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you for coming and for sharing your thoughts with us. This will be the time that members of the council will deliberate. Councilmember Keeley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, it's been a long budget process, the longest we've had since I've been on this council. I think we started in the end of first quarter, possibly, instead of June, sometime in June. I think we started about 60 or so days before that. And we've had a lot of public meetings and a lot of discussion about this, so there's not going to be too many surprises coming out of, I think, our council's comments. My perspective is I'm affected like everyone else. I think my tax bill went up 21%. Dakota County, excuse me, Dakota County Assessor's Office noted that the average home value across the spectrum was 16.5%. I don't know that the city has ever seen assessed values jump 16.5% in 1 year on average. There's some that are higher than that, of course. Just for a point of clarification, we don't have a set mill rate that just essentially is effectively applied towards your home value. We have traditionally, since I've been on this council, and I think Madam Mayor, it goes back longer than that, have always looked at our actual hard costs in dollars. And we take the dollar increase that we have voted on and divide it into the pie, and that determines the percentage. Most of the time, that number is under 5%, as it should be. And sometimes it's in the 3 range. My values and opinions that I've shared over the last 16 budget sessions has been rooted in the responsibility that we are spending your tax money, and it's a privilege to sit here in this position at this dais and do so. Holding government accountable, demanding and asking and finding innovative ways to deliver services, finding the most cost-efficient options, and sometimes just doing with what we have. I'll remind everyone in 2010, I sat at this council with a few of my fellow council members at the time, and we passed a zero levy during the most difficult period of time of the Great Recession, which resulted in 20 full-time equivalent employees of the city being let go. In fact, most of it just absorbed in attrition, so I think there was only one pink slip had to be given. And from that point on, up until recently, we haven't really grown. We've actually maintained one of the lowest cost cities in Dakota County. That's been my overriding philosophy. I think as a fiscal conservative, it's the right one to have when you're sitting in this position, because as we've heard, our decisions can harm a family budget to a great degree, especially those that live on a fixed income, like our senior citizens, some of who spoke tonight, but also those lower income families who struggle week to week, paycheck to paycheck, and sometimes don't make it. They really are disproportionately harmed when a large spike, unpredictable or inconsistent with historical trends, tax increase is put upon them. So in 2022, we were provided with a full staffing study. For the first time in almost 8 years, we got an honest and transparent information about the needs of our entire city department. We would hear a few things here and there, but there's a few departments, a couple in particular, that had great need, and they were being locked out of the discussion. And this council wasn't really truly abreast of what the need was until this new study came about, and we found out under leadership of our new city manager what the real need was. And I take the consultant's study for its face value, but also with a grain of salt. I realize that consultants are hired not to give you a conservative perspective or a liberal perspective. They're basically hired to tell you to the nth degree what is the optimum situation. In other words, in a perfect world, how many people do you need? And that's why I think that number is so high. I don't believe that number can be justified in real life in the work that we do, but probably most of it could over that period of time. We found out that public safety and fire paramedics was a heavy need. We learned that our police department was 13 members short, and that our law enforcement officers before the pandemic had a rough go. There was tons of overtime. They were stretched and stressed, and we didn't really know about it. Then the pandemic came, and all that did was pile on and exacerbate the situation for them. And now we're dealing with an excessively stressed department that is not in the best position to support our city public safety going forward. Mental health calls, behavioral health calls, different types of calls. Today is a different world than when our good friend Dan McElroy sat at this dais and did a fantastic job governing in the city, and as mayor after that, after city council. And so the dynamics have changed, and the need for police enforcement, law enforcement, the numbers may, to your point, ma'am, that you pointed out about our population growth versus why would we need 8 more officers. It's an interesting study in what's going on today in today's world, and when the closer and the more information you get, the more you realize we do need those officers. And in next year's budget, I believe there's 8 officers to be hired. That could be a challenge to hire 8 in 1 year, in one particular 12-month cycle, because it's also difficult to hire police officers today. I know that's hard to imagine, but I know you all seen the news and read the news. It is a challenge. So we are choosing to fund more police, and we're also choosing to fund more fire department because Chief Jungmann has presented in front of us. We know exactly what the need is. It's all call-based. It's very black and white. Even though red is their color, it's red and white. It's this number of calls. They have to have this number of people because they're on 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. That fire department and our police department have staff ready to be there when that 911 calls comes in. In addition, we do have some other departments like Public Works, Finance, Community Development, others that need some staff because the staffing report showed we were low. So there's a few of those in this number that I'm going to talk about, but the majority of why I support hiring the police and fire is pretty well laid out in detail. We also believe strongly that there's a need to begin investing in our EDA at a little higher level to address things like our regional mall. Your point was very valid, one of the speakers saying, I don't know if the county told you that because your taxes are going up because the mall is reduced in value and paying far less in taxes. There is some truth to that, but that is by far not the whole truth. Our regional mall property tax value has dropped quite dramatically, as you can imagine. And of course, when a piece of the pie falls at a faster rate than everything else, or really fast, the rest of the pie has to make it up. So there is some truth to that. It's just a small piece, I believe. I don't want our regional mall to become a Brookdale. I don't want it to become a Maplewood Mall, which is going on the auction block, I believe, next week or next month. We have a very significant historical performance out of that mall, and it wasn't until the prior owner let it go and lied to our face for 5 straight years, and then filed bankruptcy, and then we found out why they were lying to our face. And they let it go to the point where it was going to be very challenging to turn around. We don't own the mall, it's privately owned. We just try and set the table and facilitate and give them tools to help them and spur investment, but that's really our role. We can take a little bit more role. If we had some EDA funds, we could actually set the table a little more aggressively and help it recover. And that's what an investment in our EDA is. So the cost of doing all of that I just explained is 8.9% levy increase. So why are we talking about 14.5? It's because an idea was floated to grab, and I'm going to stress, and I'm going to use this again, money grab, in addition to for an additional $2.5 million from you, the taxpayers, without any fully vetted, fully discussed, or fully voted on cost justification. That's really what it comes down to. Fear of the future. Well, let's just take it now. I can't go along with that because, number one, we've never done it that way. We've never, since I've been on here, and Madam Mayor can speak to the history, We've never just said, let's just grab an extra 2.5 million because I think we're going to need it down the road. We don't know exactly when, where, and how much those things down the road are. We have a general idea, but that's it. And I am not somebody who's ever going to sit here and say, let's just tax out of what we think we might need over the next few years. If we haven't, as an elected body, fully vetted, fully debated, and fully voted on hard costs, we shouldn't be taxing for it. That's really what it comes down to for me. And all of this talk of 14.5 at a time, and this, I don't want to repeat what was already said, there was great points. Inflation is killing us. Gas and grocery prices are crushing. Cost of borrowing is essentially crushed the home sales market, as well as business investment. Businesses have pretty much dried up their investment because it's twice as expensive to borrow money to invest in the business. So they're all pulling in the reins. And as I noted earlier, this really dramatically affects the people who struggle to make ends meet year over year, week over week, and our senior citizens. And by the way, I turned 65 this year, so I'm part of the senior citizen group. And at some point in my future, when I stop working, I'm going to be on a fixed income, and I sure as heck would stand up here and make a case that 14.5 in 1 year is flat out too much. So I think, what does 14.5% say to our taxpayers about our leadership and the family budgets that it's going to crush? They were crushed before the pandemic started, but the pandemic made it very difficult. Then our federal government's actions added inflation that went through the roof. So, gas prices through the roof. That didn't have to be, but they are. They are what they are. So I'm urging my fellow council members to vote on an 8.9% levy. That's the one that we have fully vetted, fully debated, and we're ready to vote on. And not be afraid of what has been told might be coming in the future years. Let's deal with each year when we have the facts, specific dollar amounts, year by year. 16 years of budget discussions have taught me the forecast for the levy in future years is never as high as we forecast, because there's one thing about forecasting in government that I learned coming out of the private sector. We can account for all the anticipated cost increase. We cannot guess at what the growth, the revenue sources are going to be. We can't say, well, since we've had all these apartments being built over the last 5 years, let's build that into our future forecast. Let's build in some one-time money that we've gotten from these other places. None of that can be part of the revenue side. The government has to only report what it knows today when it comes to revenue. And it can report cost increases that it knows today because we know those are going to happen. We may not know all the revenue might come, so there's credibility to that statement. But the reality is that 5-year forecast is never going to be exactly what the 5-year forecast is, because it's only based on what we know today. And that's it. Thank you for indulging me.
Councilmember Schultz.
I'm never happy about a tax levy increase. 14% makes me nauseated to even think about. I'm not going to belabor it. I'm not going to. You all have made your points, and they're absolutely valid. Fellow city council member has also done his concise points, but they're valid. The idea is that if we do 14.5% now, our levy increases will be less in future years. And by less, I don't mean 5% or 6% or a percentage that you're used to. It will still be a high percent. However, I will throw this out so that our audience, both here and at home, understands. When they are calculating what a future levy increase may be, they are not including in there all of the facilities that we are going to be funding and building to a tune of around 70 to 80 million dollars. I absolutely do not see a way that our future levy increases will not be double digits again. So that's my bad news to you. My second bad news to you is, by the time we get to a meeting like this, the ship has sailed. If you want to affect these types of discussions, and believe me, I appreciate that you're here, because usually when we have this discussion, there is no one in the audience every year. So thank you for coming. Thank you for having your voice heard. But so you know, our discussions when this is really getting decided is much early in the year when we set the max tax. That's really when it's over. This is just pro forma. I don't know what to tell you. I feel bad saying that, and I didn't know that my first year on city council either. It was an unwelcome shock that year. So I will absolutely not be voting for a 14.5% increase. It's ridiculous.
Councilmember Workman.
Thank you. As Councilmember Schultz said, this isn't something that happens quickly. We spent many months, half of a year working on this. Several weeks listening to department heads, our chiefs profile their departments and explain their needs in very intricate detail, and what those needs are. So yes, we did hire a consultant to analyze the Mile High, but the hard numbers that we're talking about tonight are coming directly from our staff and our department heads. And I give those people a lot of credit. Those are the people that I trust. And those numbers aren't arbitrary. They're rooted in more information than I've seen in the 4 years I've been here. Just absolutely blown away by the amount of information we got in our budget this year, more than I think any other community usually spends on that type of a thing. So I was very proud of the work that we did this year to get to this point. And as Councilmember Keeley alluded to, we've been very conservative in our spending over the last several years. But that has caught up to us to a certain degree, and we've neglected to fund things that have been needed, not just this year, but for the last many years. Fire, PD, IT, so on. So a good chunk of this is rooted in catching up in areas that we've neglected over the last few years, and we can say why we didn't know these things were happening, but at the end of the day, it stops with us. And so here we are, we're ripping off a Band-Aid of sorts to get this organization where it needs to be. As far as the EDA spending, I get more calls, emails, social media postings, complaining about why is Burnsville sitting still while communities around us are doing all these neat things. Egan's getting this, Prior Lake's getting that, Lakeville's getting that. Why isn't Burnsville getting anything? Well, those communities that are thriving, and I'm not saying that Burnsville is not thriving, but those communities that are getting new and shiny things are participating in economic development, and they're not doing that sitting on their hands. The community is just as much involved in the economic development process. We are very good at stepping out of the way and letting the private sector do their thing, and I'm very proud of that, and that is something that I support. But if we want to see an aging community redevelop, we have to be a part of that process. So these aren't arbitrary cash grabs. This is us preparing for the future. And when there is an opportunity for redevelopment or economic development, they're not picking up the phone and calling us saying, hey, we got a project coming. Could you spend 6 to 9 months discussing this on your levy? And we'll wait for you. No, they're not doing that. So what we're doing is preparing. We're trying to get aggressive. And I will say one area where tax investment has a substantial return is in economic development. There aren't many departments or areas where you can invest money and then actually realize a return on that investment than in economic development, because you're going to see a return through tax dollars. I will wrap up my rambling there, but I do have one question for Ms. Rhodey in that if you could just quickly highlight what the dollar difference is annually between the 8.9 and the 14.1.
Yes, I can do that. I believe the annual difference for the calculation we made on the median value home is about $81 annually, or about $6.75 per month.
Okay. I saw my tax statement, and I know that Burnsville's is higher than we've usually seen, but at least on mine, the school district was significantly higher. And I hope all of you will participate in their public hearing as well, because they maxed theirs out as high as they could, and I don't think anybody has attended one of their public hearings either, so. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Gustafson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Workman. I don't know that I can expand on what Councilmember Workman had to say, except I'd like to talk a little bit how we got here. And for the last 15 years or so, we have pushed back on our staff, our subject matter experts, the people that actually do the work in the city, each and every year when they come with recommendations. And it's to hold government accountable, as Mr. Keeley or Councilmember Keeley likes to say, but every time you push back on those recommendations, they have to cut something. And we do, and we have been cutting back for many, many years. And a couple of years ago, we made a decision to use the federal funds that we got through ARPA to artificially reduce your taxes for ongoing operations, which means we used one-time money to support ongoing operations. Well, that money's going to run out. And when it runs out, we've got several $1 million that we have to make up for. And that's what this is all about, is preparing ourselves for next year or the year after when that money does run out. So this was kind of a self-inflicted wound. I do take exception. I know I've heard from many of our staff members that they were short people for a long time. They didn't make a real big deal of it, and I agree some of our previous management didn't pound it like they should have. I am very grateful that this year with our new city manager and our finance people, you guys told us the truth. You told us straight what it was. It told us where we're at and where we're going to be. Also, we do have a plan. We have a 5-year plan. This is not we're grabbing money and let's see what happens. This is all planned out. It was very well planned out, and I thought it was presented very well. And it's available for anyone in this room that wants it, what that 5-year plan is, if you'd like it. So I will be supporting the 14.53.
So I've been here the longest, and we have been a very conservative city. And we have done a good job of keeping the city safe, keeping operations going. But like everything else, there are ups and downs, and we experience all of that as well. Each one of our council members have given you their views of what they have experienced, which is true. But there is also the reality that Burnsville, when I came into office, was 55,000 people. We are now 65,000 people. We were, I believe, 95% built out. We're at 100% built out. Burnsville is not the city when I came in to office. It has changed quite a bit. And during the recession, we did lay off a whole lot of folks. And we didn't bring any of those folks back. And it caused our personnel to be stressed. And what we pride ourselves on is to take care of our people so they can take care of all of us. Right now, I want you all to meet the people who give us the information that allows us to look at the organization from a different lens, the lens of operation, and what they do day in and day out, 24/7, 365 days a year, so that we live in a safe community. So we have police officers who make sure that we're safe, but they're also people of integrity. When during the riots in Minneapolis, and when we had someone come into our community and put the lives of our business owners, our guests, and our residents in jeopardy, those officers were out there to make sure that we were protected. Now, someone was killed. But let me tell you, I stand behind our officers. I stand behind our firefighters and our paramedics because they're there to take care of us. And when it snows, you want to make sure that our public works people are there to clear the streets so that you have a safe drive to and from where you're going. And that we take care of our parks. And we take care. These are all assets that belong to you. We take care of the environment. All of that takes money. We take care of our water source. We should never take for granted our water. States in the West and South need water, but we take ours for granted. Now, in Burnsville, we take care of our water source. And we make sure that we do it in a very responsible way by having both surface and groundwater so we don't drill anymore and draw from the Hinckley Jordan Aquifer. And we make sure that there's enough water that we take care of us, but also we take care of Savage. Savage purchases their water from us because they sit on a fen. This is the Burnsville way, and we sell water to them. I would like members of our staff to please stand up. You need to see that these are human beings. Please stand. These are the people that lead the teams, that take care of us. And these are the people who bring us the information that allows us to make the decisions that we make each and every day to ensure that you are safe, to ensure that you have. I'm 75. So I know what you're talking about. And I want to make sure that if something happens, my police, my fire chief, and the firefighters and paramedics can be there to take care of not just me, but for all of us. And let me tell you, when I look at his reports on a monthly basis, calls to help seniors are vertical. Calls on fire are flat. We do have fire in our city. So I want you to see that these are human beings and they work hard. The police chief, the fire chief, the city manager, and also, I believe, our public works director, they sleep with their phones 24/7, 365, to ensure that when things happen, they're there to take care of things. So I can give you stories of what goes on here in Burnsville. We're an aging community, not just in how long Burnsville has established, but also in our age as citizens. So when I look at what we did, the 14% is a big bite this year, but in the next 3 years, we will be at single digits. If we went to the 8% in the next 3 years, it will be double digits, and we will be here next year talking about the double digits increase. And at that time, I don't know whether we can have the police force and the fire department that we need to take care of Burnsville. Why? Because we need to ensure that we can retain the people that we have now and hire new people to take care of a community that has grown. So thank you, members of our staff. These are people that I trust, people who give us the information. They care. They're great public servants. And I know each and every one of us know the kind of work that they get into. So I know that if you don't like the 14%, I was glad to see that my property value was increased. It's an asset on my portfolio. Because during the recession, I was underwater, and I'm a widow. So now, it might have increased in its appraised value, and therefore its assessed value. But for me, at least at my age, that asset has increased in value and not underwater. So here's what it is on a monthly basis. So I always look and I always say to staff, tell me how much it's going to cost me on a monthly basis. So it's $19 a month for the 14%. My cable and internet is more than that, and it's not going to keep me safe, and it's not going to plow the streets, and it's not going to respond when I have a heart attack. I don't know what your cable bill is and your internet bill and all of the apps that people have, like Netflix and all of that, but you add all of that up, it's a lot more than $19 to make sure you have police for public safety, to make sure that you have fire, paramedics that will respond when you need help, to make sure that the streets have the snow removed when you need it, to make sure that we have great parks for our children and our families to thrive and for lives to be enriched, and to make sure that our natural resources, our water, and the environment is protected for our children and our grandchildren. These are all the things. And oh, by the way, everything that we have, there's maintenance. Just like all of you, all of us, there's maintenance for all of the appliances and equipment that's there. So a lot of that cost is rolled into all of that you expect us to take care and to be good stewards of those assets that belong to all of us. And so it has been a long and laborious process to go through it, and to have each and every one of our department heads come in and talk about their operations and what they're doing, because we ask them to deliver. If these are the priorities that's going to make Burnsville a vibrant city, and that we boldly lead and we're welcoming to all, what is it that you need so that we can be that? And they were before us, telling us how many people they have and what is it that they do on an ongoing basis. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know it's hard. It's hard for all of us. If you're a senior citizen and you live on a fixed income, I am, just like you. and I'm a widow. Some are saying that they, their spouses are in nursing homes. So I understand that burden, but there's a greater benefit, is that I want to live in a city where we have people who care to protect us, who make sure that when there's an incident, that they're there to make sure we're going to be protected, whether that's police and fire, or our public works people, or the people in our community development area who make sure that we're working with our businesses. So we help take care of them too, so that we have jobs in this community. And a lot of you talk about split houses in Burnsville. A lot of our apartments were built in the 70s, and some of them don't have, they're not in code, and they don't have sprinklers. That's a hazard. And that's hard on our fire paramedics. So I hope you understand that we don't take this lightly. We study what's going on and we make decisions so that we are good stewards for the assets that you expect us to take care of, and that you expect us to ensure that we have a safe city for you to live in, and a city that you can be proud of. And so with that, we do the 14% this year. In the next 3 years, we will be at single digits. But are we still challenged? Of course we will be, because we provide a service. And that service is provided by people. We don't have a product that we make. The only product we have is water. And that's billed differently. And so I understand and thank you for coming in and talking about your desire. But from where I sit, a tough decision this year will allow us to continue to work for the next 3 years at a single digit increase as we continue to ensure that we have the city that's right size. Everybody has talked about how we do things here. But if you want to, every meeting that we have can be streamed. Everything that we do is transparent. So we have a YouTube channel, and we will make sure, City Manager Lindberg, that that goes out and people can go to, instead of trying to go through all of the different channels, just go to the channels that have all of the budget information, and you can watch it. Our work is transparent. We work for you. I work for the city and the residents and businesses of Burnsville. And I do my best to be that steward that you expect me to be. So if everybody has done have given all of their thoughts, I think it is appropriate for us to take the first resolution and vote on the tax levy, and then and also the budget and the capital improvement plan.
Looking for a motion?
Yes.
I will make that motion.
Okay.
I will second.
There's a motion to adopt the following budget items. Resolution establishing the 2023 tax levy, resolution adopting the 2023 budget, and the resolution to adopt the 2023-2027 capital improvement program. I will have the clerk take a roll call.
Gustafson.
Aye.
Couts.
Aye.
Keeley.
No.
Schultz.
No way.
Workman.
Aye.
And we have the adoption and a budget. The next item right now is that I will recess the Burnsville City Council so that the Economic Development Authority meeting can convene. President Gustafson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I call the Economic Development Authority meeting to order. Item number 1, are there any additions to the final agenda?
No.
Seeing none, I'll move on to item number 2, which is the consent agenda, and that's the approval of the minutes. Is there anyone who wishes an item to be removed from consent agenda for a separate discussion and vote? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Moved.
Moved by Commissioner Keeley.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Workman. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it passes. Item number 3 is a resolution adopting the EDA 2023 property tax levy and budget. Jenny Rhodey, our Chief Financial Officer, is presenting.
The original presentation included the EDA information, so I don't have anything additional at this time.
Okay. Are there any questions? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Workman, second by Commissioner Couts. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 1 noes. 4-1. Okay. There's no other business. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Commissioner
I'll second
Keeley, motion
that.
to vote. First and a second, may I have a vote? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? And we are adjourned. Back to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I will now will reconvene the Burnsville City Council meeting. And this is a resolution to adopt the Burnsville Economic Development Authority property tax levy. There is nothing new except to ratify the actions of the Economic Development Authority. May I have a motion to ratify the actions?
So moved.
There's a motion,
Second.
and there's a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
And the clerk has a division of the House.
I do, Madam Mayor.
Okay, and we now have certified the actions of the Burnsville Economic Development Authority. And members of the council and our guests and staff, there are no other items to come before the council this evening, and a motion to adjourn is in order.
Moved.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. Good night, and thank you for being with us.